So I hear that a new D&D book is just released.
That's right. So let's discuss Candlekeep Mysteries.
I'm Nerdarchy Dead.
And I'm Nerdarchy Dave. Welcome to Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds.
Now let's solve some mysteries.
Absolutely, man. You know, usually I would just open up D&D Beyond and look at this stuff, but we can't. Wizards of the Coast got us these books super early. So, you know, we got both covers here. They look super sweet. They're awesome. We're going to be giving away some of these books in our monthly giveaways. So if you go over to nerdarchy.com and check out our contest page, you can figure out how to enter that stuff and get involved via our newsletter where we randomly draw people from. So we're going to start getting into Candlekeep Mysteries. It's an anthology. You get 17 adventures in here, levels 1 through 16. And for some reason, they doubled up on 4th level. I don't know why, but they did. It's cool. 224 pages, includes a poster map. And also, I think a lot of these people have not been published by Wizards of the Coast before. So we got like a bunch of first-time authors. So that's really cool. What we're going to do, down in the description, in addition to, a link to our website, so you can go sign up for our newsletter. There's probably even a link in there as well where you can sign up for our newsletter and, randomly have a chance of winning one of these copies yourselves. But, if you don't want to take your chances, you can pre-order your copies over on D&D Beyond if you want a digital version, or Amazon if you want a physical copy. It's only fair to mention that D&D Beyond is our sponsor, is a Nerdarchy sponsor. They're sponsoring this video. So again, you can just follow that link, go over there, pre-order, or check out, all the free stuff they have to look at, the articles, the videos, and everything that's on the SRD. It's our go-to resource for all things official Dungeons and Dragons. Link in the description. So, the first thing, I noticed is, at the beginning of each of the chapters, we get a list of the writers, the editors, and people that worked on that particular section. That was pretty cool. Also, like, the art is a big deal for a lot of people. And for a while, Wizards of the Coast was not really great about attributing the specific pieces of art to the artist. Now, obviously, they were putting the names in the books, but the pieces weren't signed or marked. This one, every piece of art is marked. I found it a little hard to find them at first, and you had to look around because sometimes it was like on the side of the page, like on the inside here, right? And it would be, maybe on the opposite page instead of the page that the art was actually on. But it is there, and See, like in this case, the artist's name is there. I don't know if you can see that or not, but the artist's name is there, but it's like at the bottom of the page and sideways, So, but I mean, it's still cool that it is getting included, and they're not being left out. And also, there's a lot of great art in here.
Oh, the art is absolutely fantastic. Some things, I don't want to say deviate from, what D&D typically is, but there's definitely a lot of new things. Artwork is really great and definitely inspiration drawing for me.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, have you checked this out yet? I mean, probably when this video goes live, it'll be just after you're able to buy it. Have you gotten it already? Are you thinking about getting it? What's the most exciting thing to you about it? Favorite piece of art, favorite adventure? Put it down in the comments. Let us know.
After you do that, don't forget to stop by that middle section of the video and appease the almighty YouTube algorithm. Like, share, subscribe, even attune to that notification bell. You know the drill.
Yeah, quick reminder, Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, we put up new D&D videos. Sometimes we talk about other things, but usually D&D. Come back to the channel, check it out, see what's new. All right, so let's jump into it, man. There's one thing I noticed right away in the table of contents and also the back of the book, and they kind of correlate to each other.
So, there's 14 new stat blocks, within this, if you, go through and count them all. And anything that's kind of marked with an asterisk is going to be something that, has not appeared as a monster stat block and another book. So some things have been reprinted, but you are getting something new to add to the game.
Yeah.
If you are just looking for that, kind of drop-in option.
Yeah, there's 14 new monsters. Well, I say new, but some of them are definitely from other books. So I don't know exactly how many of them are unique to this book. There's definitely a couple that are. One of the things also that actually another content creator, Ted from Nerdarchy, pointed out, is there's no index in this book, right? Which is something that I do not like personally. Me and Ted, we tend to like cherry pick this kind of content and use it for our homebrew campaigns, and we don't really run the adventures as much. We might like, oh, I like this map, or maybe this and grab this encounter, or here's some magic items or some monster options. So we like getting the new stuff for that purpose. But now, like, you gotta hunt for it. At least for the monsters anyway, you can look for their asterisks and you can find the page they're on. That makes it a little bit easier. But that being said,
now I will say that in place of an index, they do give you contributor bios to kind of highlight who these people are and where you might be able to find them out in the real world. Yep. And a lot of the information that you might be looking for is going to be in your table of contents. So perhaps that's why they didn't go with that. So if you know that you're looking for, Greenfast or, the Skitter widget, you can grab them right from the contents, but you have to go through the whole book in order rather than jumping to an alphabetical list. So that could be why.
Yeah,
they didn't go
I mean, this might ruffle some feathers. I would take the indexes over where to find the contributors or whatever. I mean, listen, they're super important, and I do like know who makes the stuff, and I feel like they're not usually. It's not really hard to find people on Twitter, and the D&D community is very active. But I feel like for your average D&D player, they don't care. They'd probably rather have the convenience of having all the stuff listed. And while the monsters aren't bad to find and pick out, you can't do the same with the magic items. You literally have to sift through everything in order to find them. So next up, we get to a section right in the very beginning. It is where to run it in your world. Obviously, this is Candlekeep. This is meant to be run in Forgotten Realms, but at the same time, it gives you some suggestions if you're not playing in Forgotten Realms, and also like some ideas. Maybe you're playing your own homebrew. So it does some things to help you out as the dungeon master if you're not running Forgotten Realms, and clue you in to use this book.
Next up is DM advice for safety tools.
Be a sensitive dungeon master. So kind of this is like the social contract, session zeros type stuff. And they give you a paragraph on some of that stuff in order to make running the game a bit smoother for you and your group. They give you some advice which can be helpful.
So the only thing I feel it would be missing from this is the concept of session zero. It was brought up in another book, but I just wish it would be included, and it would literally just be like a single sentence that all of this could be discussed, if you were to run that.
So we kind of touched on this next section a little bit without touching on it, and that's dissecting the adventures. And that's what me and Ted do a lot of times, is like we pick these stuff apart and use the things that we like, use them to implement in our own games. And it's like, it basically tells you that it's like, hey, maybe you only want to use part of an adventure. Maybe you want to change things. Maybe you want to make it for higher level, lower level. Go ahead and do it. Make it your own. And I feel like the pre-written stuff works much better when you do that. So we get a whole section on that.
We get 10 pages dedicated to Candlekeep. You need a unique book to get in. So like whether this is something that this is like your preliminary adventure as a level 1, like if you're planning to run this as like the even though these are individual adventures, the fact that it is a 1 through 16 out of 17 adventures, you could literally just run them in order and play that as a campaign, just like any of the other books. Just always have that kind of like reset points, and when you finish the thing, gain a level, except for the one where you did it where you've got a double on level 4, unless you want to just bump through and you finish the 17, what have you.
You could totally be like the Scooby-Doo crew just running through these mysteries. Yeah, honestly, like the thing that I like the most about this book is this 10 pages. I think it's really great. It gives you a really in-depth overview of Candlekeep. And Candlekeep is literally like a mini town, right? You pretty much have everything you need here, and we didn't really have to leave. And as Ted said, even it's not easy to get in either, right? You need a unique book to offer up, and they have a crew of 5 priests of Denier that man the gate and oversee this process, belonging to an organization called the Val, right? And they'll look at your book, and then if they're not sure, then they'll run it to one of the higher ups and be like, "Can they get in with this book? Is this a copy? Is this a forgery?" So from there, it's like a yay or a nay.
But if you are admitted, you're referred to as a seeker, and get an avowed assistant to help you with your research. And then we get into an interesting table with 8 guides.
Yeah, so you get a bunch of like different NPCs that you can kind of use, and so they give you can roll a d8 or pick one. It gives you some personality traits to kind of figure out, okay, who is our group going to get to help us out. So it's role playing opportunity, social encounter, and it just adds another layer of depth to the adventure.
And then, of course, there is the security. You've got an archmage and 4 mages with 4 more archmages in reserve. So, like, we're talking about, higher level NPCs if you're going to be dealing with this. And, perhaps, if you've got a wizard in the party, this could be like a goal. And after you go through all 17 mysteries, perhaps you're powerful enough of a mage to, kind of, join this society in Candlekeep.
Yeah, and then they kind of like go through the whole hierarchy, orders of accordance of how this place is run, how Candlekeep is run. So you've got a lot of like rich history and details to incorporate into your campaign. It's very very soon after this too. We're gonna get our very first stat block for a master sage and a sage. And I point this out because for a couple of reasons that I found interesting. One, right off the bat, alignment is just gone. They don't use it.
Yeah, I mean that's something that for some people that's going to be very a very big deal. For us, we look at stat blocks as malleable. I don't care what the picture represents. I don't care what the stat block says. Everything in there can be slid around, moved, adjusted, changed to better suit us. But not everybody is totally on board with that or even aware that that's possible. So like there's a thing, NPC gender and alignment. No gender or alignment is specified for non-player characters in Candlekeep. You can choose an NPC's gender identity and alignment when you go ahead and use them. So like do with as you will, as given the power of the dungeon master. That's within your say so anyway, but now it's literally spelled out.
Yeah. So it's up to you, or don't use it at all. Is what I think if you read between the lines. And here's the other thing. I found this part a little bit odd, and it seems like a waste of space almost to me. But under actions, right, it's got all the information you would normally expect, but like more. Like the way spellcasters were written before, you might have a list of spells you have access to, the number of spell slots you have per level, and that. But instead, it just is like, nope, here's these spells. You can use them this many times a day. Fireball is written down as an action. It's a 3rd level spell. You can do it 3 times a day, and then it just gives you basically the rundown of the fireball description. Same thing with the cantrips. So, and also with the shield spell as a reaction. So I don't know why they decided to make that change. To me, like how they were doing before seemed fine. I don't know that it was a huge problem for people. Because again, there's still spells I think that are written down in a list that you would still have to look up anyway, right? So it's not like they're doing it for every single one.
So my reaction there is it gives that particular character a go-to. So it's like, all right, well, I know when I look at this Master Sage on page 9 that he's got a cantrip and a fireball, and if he doesn't know what to do, if combat is happening, one of these two things is going to happen. Is it safe to nuke an area? No? Okay, I shock and grasp. So when you aren't certain what you should have, this is what you do. And it's, for inexperienced GMs, that could be a nice helpful guide to say, well, I'm not sure what this character would do here. Boom, right there in the book is their go-to. Now, yes, if you look below, in both the Master Sage and the Sage, there is spells, 3 times a day they can do these. Once a day they can each do these. All right, that's still a heavy amount of spellcasting for the challenge rating that these guys are representing. So it does break the traditional norm of what other spellcaster stat blocks have done in the past. But it gives that guided action for DMs who are not used to running this. And right off the bat, I think that can be helpful to experienced GMs. Yeah, it could be presented as, yeah, I don't need this. It could be wasted space. But
Or
that's my
if
take.
you're using D&D Beyond, you have the hover card, so you would just mouse over that spell and you get to read it anyway.
Yeah.
But obviously these are books, and you cannot hover card a book yet.
Now, I will point out, we kind of skipped over it. There are rules within Candlekeep. No fighting, no stealing, no copying, no damaging, marking, or otherwise modifying the works. And they go on to, spell these out. But it's kind of cool to just be like, all right, you want to follow the rules, otherwise you're going to be ousted from Candlekeep. And, once that happens, you're pretty much gone.
Oh yeah, that was the orders of accordance. I kind of glossed over that, the rules that go with it, and then there's the hierarchy that enforces it, which is all pretty cool, all good flavor, and the rules are really simple. It's like, here's 4 things, don't do this. Really, it comes down to, like, my favorite rule personally is don't be a dick, and everything kind of works out. All in all, in Candlekeep, just by itself, not including the rest of the book, you and not including the ghost dragon that lives underneath Candlekeep, you get 24 named NPCs where they're not like written out per se like a stat block, but they just give you a name and a couple details, so you could use these to interact with your players and do social encounters as they explore Candlekeep. It's plenty enough to get you going. You don't have to think about, oh, what's this guy's name when they go to some random person. You can look and be like, oh, maybe it's this guy, right? Or this gal. So that's super cool. There's 13 rogue modrons that kind of work at the library. So they left Mechanus and they're like, I don't know, what do you want to do? And the other 12 are like, I don't know, let's go find a library and sort books for the rest of eternity. So yeah, it's an odd but cool detail.
Absolutely. You've got Mirim, the Sentinel Worm, the bound silver ghost dragon, as Dave says, living underneath the library. That in and of itself, could lead to other adventures and things, beyond, your level 17, if that's where you wanted to go afterwards, after you completed the whole book.
Yeah, like if you want to go mess around, at Candlekeep, you may just find out, because as we stated, there's like 4 mages hanging around, 5 archmages, and this dragon that can teleport anywhere within Candlekeep to defend it. So yeah, this place is no joke in that regards. And that's just so far, right? That's just like the preamble to the book and Candlekeep, right? And so far, I feel like we got a lot of stuff we could use. I feel like I personally would be like, oh, I will run Candlekeep and use Candlekeep as a base of operations for players. And, I think it would be a fantastic starting location or base of operations that you could use and have your players coming back and back. Again, maybe they're operatives of the library, or you could even just rip it out of the Forgotten Realms, drop it in your own world, and it gives you plenty to work with. And that's without even touching the 17 adventures that are right here.
And this would be a really great game for lore-based, intelligent-based characters that are seeking to actually gain, preserve, or locate knowledge that is not within the library. So just that foundation, I agree with Dave. This could be a fantastic start and loop back point. If you've got a game where one of your players is perpetually unable to make it, if you've got the ability to start and end back at Candlekeep with every session, whoever shows up that night, oh well, looks like they're available for the quest. Let's go do this. And you just end your session back at Candlekeep and you're good to go.
So now we get into the adventures, right? Each adventure is tied to a book. So there are 17 books, and the books are kind of cool too, because these are items that you could use them as they're presented here and run them in your game that way. Or you could actually put them in your games and have them find them outside of the library, and it could springboard into a new adventure. But also each of the books, most of them, have like, oh, if you're looking for this kind of information, this book can come up. So in my mind, you can then use that in other ways in your game, not just for, oh, this is the hook to a new adventure, but a lot of times we'll give out books in our own games and be like, well, if you make a lore or knowledge check based on something that's in that book and you have time, well, you can make that with advantage because you can reference the book. So I would go to any of these books and be like, oh, like this one says creating permanent versions of existing spells, demiplanes, pocket dimensions, and other spaces that exist outside of the material plane. I'd go, boom, you know what? The joy of extra-dimensional spaces, the player, their character has this book. When they make a check, now they can, roll with advantage if they consult this book and they have time to kind of do a little bit of homework and research. So not only are these things adventures, but they can also just be cool things to put into your game.
No, within that particular adventure, one of the things that stood out to me, and I agree with Dave about having these books be a little bit more than just the link to the adventure. But the swarm of animated books, I thought was a really cool, very low level challenge monster. It's a challenge quarter, so very easy to add into things. But a swarm of animated books, I think, is just pretty fantastic. And you kind of could easily use this in anywhere that you're going to have a library, or heck, even a small little shop that is run by a wizard that is just using this to defend his premise. I think it'd be very cool.
Right, or just a place where things go awry, right? Magic gone wrong, and all the books animate and begin attacking. You can use that stat block, and like I don't think the swarm of books exists anywhere else. And many of these adventures, some of them happen actually at Candlekeep, like the one we just mentioned. The first one actually happens there. You actually leave the premises. Some of them happen at other locations because the pieces of information in the book lead you there. I mean, one of the books is like you open it up and a map falls out, right? And it's not even part of the adventure that the book is a hook to. It's just like an extra piece in there, so you can use stuff like that. And I believe there's at least one of these adventures that actually happens inside the book itself. So you have lots of options. There's lots of ways that you can, use this book, use these adventures in your game. There's also the other thing, unless you have anything you want to mention before we move on.
Yeah, so I would say that, if you're looking for a slower progression game, you could literally intersperse adventures, either written, by someone else or of your own design to kind of go in. So maybe it takes 2 adventures, to gain your level. And all you have to do is just follow that same model of you're looking around the library, you find this book, it leads you on an adventure path. You go do this thing, and then you can move on to the next one.
And also it's an anthology too, right? Like maybe you don't like this adventure or that adventure, but you like other ones. Unlike if you bought Curse of Strahd or Sky King's Thunder and you don't like the adventure, well, you don't like the whole entire book pretty much, right? Right. When it comes to the adventure.
Hey, my mispronunciation has slipped into your own vernacular. It's Storm King's Thunder.
Oh, right. Sky King's Thunder is something completely different. Old Nerdarchy fans will understand. Yeah, so on that regards, I think that's also another benefit of this being an anthology as well. You can pick and choose. You don't have to love everything. And that, and still this could be a super valuable resource. You can cherry pick information, like we said, like, oh, this book refers to this. I could just throw that in there minus the adventure if I wanted to. Because it's already got a cool name and hints to what they'll find in there.
I grabbed a couple of things that I thought, was super awesome. Grippiles, which I don't believe has been previously released in 5th edition, as yet another frog-like race. We've got Grung and Bullywugs, but you know what? We apparently still need Grippily in the D&D world. So I was excited to see a stat block for them. There's some new constructs, so the Skitter widget and Kitty widget, a medium and small construct that the artwork is really cool and evocative. I totally dig them. We'll certainly use them. And, can't wait for someone to release minis of those guys. And then, one of the adventures that I wound up reading through was, the 13th level adventure, the Canopic Being, which has got some very cool things with it, and it's got a very powerful stat block that is slightly terrifying, and I'll just leave it at that. But there's definitely a lot of really cool things in here if you're like our style and you want to just cherry pick stuff. But, the adventures that are in the book, do give you that ability to run it, all the way through, even though it's not listed as an adventure, but could totally just be, I'm just going to use this snippet and that snippet as you run.
Yeah. Also, the final thing I will say is, in addition to 14 monster stat blocks that we get, some of which are new, some of them are repeats, we also get 5 magic items, which these are a little bit tougher to find because you have to literally sift through, and I may even miss some. There might be more. But I did find the Orcus figurine, Gloves of Soul Catching, Staff of Fate, Watchful Helm, Nether Scroll of Azumar. That Nether Scroll is pretty badass and is definitely not what I expected from a scroll magic item. The Gloves of Soul Catching, you actually get the formula and learn how to make them. So that was like a kind of a cool tidbit as well. So all in all, I think it's a good product. It's a good book. There's stuff in here that I could definitely see cherry picking and using for my own game.
So you definitely have to check this out. Follow the links down in the description. Grab it however you're going to use it. Add Candlekeep to your D&D collection. And as Dave says, check the link in the description to possibly find a way to get your own copy from us.
If you like overview videos, you might want to check out Tasha's Cauldron of Everything overview.
And if you'd like to help support Nerdarchy in another way, you might want to check us out over on Patreon.
As a thank you, you'll receive 5e monthly content for players and DMs alike, a chance to game with us, and more.
So until next time,
stay nerdy.
Stay nerdy.